Hello and welcome back to Soul Search Sunday. I almost forgot what I was doing. Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger. It is June 27, 2021. Wow, it is a really hot week here in British Columbia. Only a month ago, we were complaining it's too cold, and now look at this. Some places in BC have gotten to uh, almost 100, actually over 100 degree Fahrenheit, over 40 degree Celsius, and it's just been, well, for me, as far as for myself, I think it's just gorgeous coming from Taiwan. I have no issue usually with heat, although my two kitty cats are sure suffering. So I do feel bad for them. I've been trying to make sure they have water and uh, ice cube and took them into the shower to give them a rinse down. The little one, Aslan, didn't care much for that part, but Tiger actually had some fun. So yeah, I guess before we start, as usual, I want to give you a PSA, and don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to drink water this time. Although please do make sure you are hydrated. But if you have little animals, cats and dogs, make sure that in weathers like this, you take time to make sure they are hydrated, make sure they are not overheating, don't just assume that they're sleeping all day. That's good. Sometimes when uh, animals, especially cats, get heat stroke, they'll sleep a lot and then they'll start vomiting and get diarrhea, and then sometimes they can actually die from that. So take care of your furry babies by making sure they maintain a reasonable body temperature, give them water, um, put ice cube in the water dish and give them extra water stations. I usually have at least three water stations set out all over the house for the two boys, especially now with Tiger being a really old cat. Sometimes it's almost like he feels it's too much effort to jump up for the higher water station. So I set one up on the floor where he can get to if he wants to, and he can also get water in the higher places and in the kitchen and washroom as well. A couple of days ago, I saw an interesting topic, a little interesting little questions show up on my notification, and the question says, personality and character, are they the same or are they different? Now, I think a lot of people might think that personality and character are basically the same. Your character uh, should more or less fall in line with your personality. But this is my strictly my opinion on this question. If you have your own answer to whether character and personality is the same thing, or any kind of thought you have on the subject, please do feel free to put it in the comment section. I think personality is something that we have very little control over. Uh, Personality is something that, generally speaking, we are born with, or can be the result of being exposed to a constant type of environment. Uh, Personality, in a very big way, I think, is nature, while character is nurture. Character is gained through life's experiences. Character is gained through education. Character is gained through faith, religion, spiritual. Characters can be gained through uh, conviction, depending on what you choose to believe in. I think the two are not necessarily going to be the same, and I do actually think that a lot of people, myself included, their character and their personality will often contradict each other uh, and balance each other out. For example, me and my father, we actually have very, very similar personality. We are both extremely impulsive. We are both prone to violent, a violent way to solve problems. We both tend to be a little bit, shall we say, more highly sexual people. Uh, Lecturers, I think, if we put it in proper English. We both have a low regard for authority and what other people, especially when other people, government included, trying to establish authority over us. We both have the kind of personality that tend to force us to the extreme. However, my character and my father's character are almost polar opposite. While my father is very free with expressing his anger and violent tendencies, I spent a lot of effort suppressing, redirecting, and mellowing out my naturally violent tendency while my father is willing to let his impulse guide his action, I, on the other hand, have developed a kind of characteristic that is a little bit more slow and considerate. Uh, I'm not quite like Treebeard in Lord of the Ring, where you go, everything has its own time. We must be patient. I'm not like that, thank God. But I will say, a lot of people sometimes think that I might uh, not be very bright or very driven. Surprising, isn't it? Some people actually think I'm not very driven, because I tend to act and talk a little bit slower than what is strictly normal. But that got nothing to do with me not understanding what's going on. It got nothing to do with my lack of assertion. It is because I understand that I have a very impulsive uh, personality. So I compensate it by making sure I consider things from all angles, all possibilities, and then re-examine them, and then lay out backup plans on top of backup plans, and plan B, plan C, plan D, and all that stuff. So I have developed that kind of characteristic to counteract my more impulsive nature. While my father allowed his desires, his uh, his uh, the part of his personality that want him to feel good, feel great, feel fulfilled all the time. While my father let that guide him towards being uh, very easily addicted to activities. My father is one of those guys that whatever he get into, he's going to get addicted to. He's going if you get him to drink water, he get addicted to drinking water in 2 days. You get him to gamble, he get addicted to gambling. You get him to play golf. Next week, he's buying all the most expensive golf gear, and he's at the golf course every day. He's not gonna, because he allow himself to run free, to have to he let himself to be off the leash. Whatever feel good is what he's going to let himself do. So he goes with his base nature, he goes with his personality. I, on the other hand, is very opposite. I am very big on suppressing myself. Um, I know if I let myself go, I can easily get out of control like a wildfire in acquiring just doing the things I like to do. For example, martial art. If I let myself go, if I let myself fully get into it, I can probably do it 8 hours a day, every day of the week, and I would be so into sparring and fighting and winning and try hurting people and all that stuff. Uh, so to counteract that part of my personality, my characteristic make it so it's almost impossible for me to get addicted to things because as soon as something make me feel good, as soon as something make me feel wow, I want more and more of it, I it's like inside my head there's something that just stamp down on the brake. Okay, you're having too much fun. Get back to work. Something like that. So that's me. That's me and my the conflict, the balancing between my personality and my character, very different from my father. Now, speaking of that, uh, it almost it almost sounds like I'm saying that personality is all the bad thing and character is all the good thing. But that is very far, very, very far from the truth. I'm sure we have all heard. Sometimes you just have to go with your feeling. Sometimes you just have to go with your feeling, and things won't go wrong. And that is one of the biggest problem I constantly run into. Because I try so hard to suppress my impulses, I try so hard to suppress my inner feelings, to suppress my wants and desires. Sometimes I make decisions based on what I think is right for other people, what I think makes sense for the uh, world around me, rather than what is really good for me. And uh, because of that, I have made lousy, lousy, lousy decisions in the past because of that, because I was thinking too much, because I was overanalyzing the situation, and because of me overanalyzing, try to second guess everybody else's feeling. And in the end, I make a decision that totally missed the mark, didn't make anyone happy, and definitely didn't make me happy. This last week, actually, just a couple days ago, uh, it's a good example of an instance where my character almost stabbed me in the back, but big time this time. What am I talking about? Okay, let me uh, bring you back to 2 days ago when I got a letter from the government, and this turned out to be my income tax assessment for 2020. The letter almost scared me to death. Let me tell you that. I opened the letter, and my good friend Wesley was with me at the time. Wesley quite often helped me go through my mails and read important document to me. So we opened the letter, and the letter said I owe the government $4,000 because I made over $52,000 in 2020, which is definitely not true and news to me. So we decided to pick up the phone and call the revenue agency, Revenue Canada, to see what's going on because neither of us, neither myself or Wesley, really know the income tax stuff. I mean, unless you are really good at doing your own income tax or you are some kind of accountant or math specialist, I think most people don't really understand what is what when you're presented with all these lines with different numbers on them, all the different exemptions and calculations and stuff like that. So yeah, neither of us understood what we were looking at. We just knew that the letter said I owe the government $4,000. We got on the phone, and as you can imagine, quite often is the case when you call the government, you're on hold. You have to push this button, push that button, and listen to a whole bunch of announcements, and then make another selection. Finally, we're put on hold for an agent. We're on hold for almost uh, 20 minutes, half an hour. Not very long, all considered, but after if you count in the time of pushing all those buttons and listening to all those announcements, it was long enough. It was long enough for both of us to start to lose our cool. for us to start to get frustrated. Finally, the government agent picked up the phone and I explained the situation and asked her to explain to me how is it that they felt I owe them $4,000. Why did the letter say I made so much money in 2020? Why did the assessment show I made so much money in 2020? And it turned into a situation where I would ask a question and then the agent would say, well, okay, let me put you on hold. And then she would go away and then come back 5 minutes later and say, oh yeah, to answer your question, it's because this number you see here plus this number come up to that number, and because of this exemption, and then this happened last year, and you are also benefiting from blah blah blah. It's so that's why. And then she said, do you have any? Do you understand? And then of course, I had no idea what she just said. I said, well, that doesn't make sense because that still doesn't add up to why I owe you guys $4,000. And then she would say, okay, hold on, let me get back to you. Please hold. And then 5 minutes later, come back. Okay, let me explain to you. This is this plus this, and last year you did this, and the benefit go here, and the deduction only went this way, but this deduction only happened if you did this plus that, and you only did that, and you didn't do this. Do you understand? I said, um, no, because it doesn't. That doesn't explain why I owe you guys money, and that doesn't explain why you say I made $52,000 last year when that's not. That's definitely way too much. And again, please hold. And basically, you get my point. Every time there's an exchange, 5 minute hold. Every time there's an exchange, 5 minute hold. And then she would come back with a super complicated set of math and jargons that no one outside of Revenue Canada would be able to understand. Uh, by the fourth time, she came back and she said a whole bunch of stuff. And then I said, okay, let me get this straight. Are you telling me that I owe this money because I got the pandemic relief benefit? She said, yes, exactly. Did it make sense? No, it still didn't make sense. But something happened in my brain at that point. There was a tug between my personality and my character. My personality was this doesn't make sense. This is no way is this any kind of thing we can work with. This just doesn't make sense. And we need to pursue this. We need to keep at it. But my character, that ever so logical, ever so reasonable part of my character kicked in, and I've heard myself say, "Well, okay, so you say you're telling me that because I got the pandemic relief, now I need to pay you guys back $4,000. So how should I do this?" And then she suddenly became very reasonable. Well, if you want to pay us back, and we can give you a payment plan, you can pay several $100 every month for the next 24 months. That should be okay. And I heard myself say, okay, well, let's just go with that. It's good enough. And I hung up. All the while, all the while, my inner child, back of my mind, in the back of my head. Why did you do that? What you, that's wrong. That's wrong. We don't understand. We don't understand. But why did I do that? Really? Well, I'm very big on analyzing my own actions, and this is what I come up with. There's three reasons that made my character override my personality in that instant. Number one, psychologically, I got primed to think that the government was going to nail me one way or another because of the pandemic relief benefit. What do I mean by that? For the entire pandemic, for the entire duration that I have not been able to get a lot of work, I've been receiving the Canada Recovery Benefit. And for the entire duration of the pandemic, I hear so many people say this. Even myself probably said it several times. Don't be so comfortable with it. Don't think it's a good thing because the government is going to get it back one way or another. Don't be so comfortable with this benefit you're getting. Every day, almost every day, I heard, read on Facebook, hear people say uh, some version of this. Don't be so comfortable. They are going to get you. They are going to get you. Just as you think, just when you think the government is nice, so nice to you, the other shoe is going to drop. Now, here's the thing about human psyche is no matter how strong a person's psyche is, when you are exposed to of something long enough, even if it's a lie, even if it's not completely true, if you're exposed to it long enough, it will wear you down. It will prime your psyche for that eventuality. For example, if for every day in the last 2 years, if for every day in the last 2 years, someone, and not always the same person, but some you see on Facebook, you see on social media, or you hear from your friend that, oh, if the first sign of you might be having, if you might have cancer, is the feeling of fatigue. The first sign of you having cancer is a feeling of fatigue every day. Let's say someone tell you that. Different people, different sources tell you that every day. You come across this every day for 2 years. I will almost guarantee that the first time you start to feel fatigue, doesn't matter if it's seasonal allergy or seasonal flu or you're just overworked. The first time you feel fatigue, you're going to go on Google and Google fatigue today is a cancer or something like that. And then if you just happen to see one of these websites that says fatigue is often a syndrome, a symptom associated with late stage cancer, well, I'll guarantee you that you will be so freaked out. You're going to go to the doctor and get all kinds of checkup just to find out that you actually didn't have cancer. Okay? But you fell for it because you were primed for it by hearing about it constantly. Well, that's what happened to me. I heard about the government was going to get me, the government was going to get me, the government was going to get me. You're going to have to pay this back, you're going to have to pay this back, one way or another, you have to pay this back. I heard this for the entire duration of the pandemic. So, in the back of my mind, when I heard that I owe them $4,000, almost half of me already say, see, I told you, we knew this was going to happen. See, there's no surprise. I don't know why you're so surprised because everyone been telling you that they're going to get you one way or another. So that's reason one. Reason two is I got lazy. I'm not going to. I'm not. I'm not going to negate that. I'm not going to skip over that. I got lazy. I got tired. You know, we've been on the phone. We've been waiting on the phone for half an hour and doing this and that, selecting different options. And then every time I ask a question, I got put on hold for another 5 minutes. And then this person would come back and say something I didn't understand to begin with. Uh, so finally, when I got a simple answer, is it because of my pandemic relief? Yes. Okay, let's just go with that. I got lazy. I got tired. I just wanted to be over with. Yeah, that's the second reason. They wore me down. The third reason, too, is interesting. The third reason is because I was trying to be a good friend. Because my friend Wesley was sitting beside me, getting more and more anxious by the minute. And I felt that if I just kept uh, hashing over all these points with the agent, if I kept dragging this on and on, I wasn't being fair to my friend. After all, we were supposed to be spending a nice lunch together. So that also influenced me to just say, okay, good enough. Tell me how I'm going to pay you. Let's get it over with. Luckily, my own shortcoming didn't extend to my friend. I always said that I have a very charmed life, that I have some really good people in my life, and this was another illustration of such an incidence of me having a very charmed life with fantastic people beside me. After we hung up the phone, after I already agreed to pay the government, Wesley sat there looking at this tax assessment that neither him or myself could understand. And after 5 minutes, he said, I think we should call them back. I still remember my feeling at the time. I felt resentment in my head because I was angry. I was angry that I had to pay this money back, and I didn't understand why I had to pay this money back. I was angry because I just spent the last hour on the phone and getting more and more confused. So in my head, I felt resentment. In my head, I heard myself say, "Wesley, goddamn it, just leave it alone, okay? They are right, we are wrong. They are the government. They must have a reason. If they say I owe them money, I owe them bloody money. Stop poking at it." In my head, that's what I said. But I did, I didn't say that because a part of me, my personality, said he's right. He's right. I don't understand why I owe them money. Why should I give them $4,000 when I don't understand why I owe them $4,000? He's right. So I said, Wesley, why do you say we need to call them again? Wesley said, I don't know. I don't know, dude, but I keep looking at this and I just get a feeling that something's wrong. I just get a feeling that, but yeah, let's just call them again, okay? Well, since Wesley said let's call them again, my personality, my inner child, is saying let's just call them back. Let's call them back. Let's see what's going on here. We picked up the phone and called them back. Another half an hour on hold. Another half an hour pushing this, selecting that, listening to the announcement, dealing with an agent. By the way, the agent, they don't come on the phone and immediately start helping you with your problem. When you call the revenue agency agent, when they come on the phone, they ask you like a trillion questions uh, to verify that you are the who you say you are. And these questions can be a little bit invasive, annoying, really hard to get answers for. Like, for example, they are going to ask you what is an uh, account number to your check-ins account. Yeah, like things like that that you might not have on your person at that very moment. So we went through that whole thing again, and then 45 minutes later, we I was talking to a second agent without any of the previous confusion that the previous agent gave us. This agent came right out and say, "Hey, Hmm, I can see what you mean. Yeah, this is where the problem is. Your this form say you only made this much, but on your declaration you almost declare double the amount. That's where the problem is. So uh, this is what you can do. What you should do is submit a request to get a reassessment because there's definitely something wrong here." When I heard this, I wanted to reach over and give Wesley a big hug. And if I wasn't such a manly, macho, badass individual, I totally would. Uh, but that's it. It wasn't something I did in the first place. It was an error on the income tax. And I almost lost $4,000 because my character, my nicer part of myself, told me to just leave it alone. Told me that they were the government, they must be right. Stop stressing out your friend, stop wasting time, and just pay them. I almost let my character stab me in the back. I'm so thankful that I had such a good friend that even at those rare moments of weakness when I might have really shanked myself. I had someone there to say, hey, I don't know what's wrong, but I think there's something wrong. Let's try this again. And I thank whoever is up there, Mother Nature, Buddha, God, Jesus Christ, whatever. I thank the forces up there that I had the wisdom and foresight to say, hey, yeah, you're right, let's call them again. Rather than going with the first voice in my head, which was, God damn it, Wesley, just leave it alone. I will say this again. I have had some wonderful, wonderful people in my life, and I spent every day of my life feeling very grateful to have you all here with me and help me through all these little uh, pitfalls that life bring into my life to make things interesting. Now, speaking of good people in my life, another good friend. I know you are watching this, so I'm not going to mention name, but you know who I am talking about. Another good friend sent me out of the blue, sent me a $50 gift certificate for Uber Eats today, and because of that, I was able to have a very, very, very satisfactory dinner and have enough food left for the next 4 days. So, hey, thanks, bro. Like I said, I know you're watching this, so I don't have to mention name, but definitely thank you. And this is yet another example of having good people in my life.